there's a chance Bitcoin is going to 75K this week. There's a couple of factors that could contribute to these problems, guys. We got tons happening here. I'm going to give you some very important levels on Bitcoin and these alts as well. Let's go. Guys, and remember, as always, hit that like, hit the bell, and hit the subscribe. Obviously, we've got James in the house. He's here ready to go, bringing us some news and things. He tells us $500 million is going to get taken out of US ETFs.
ETFs, but Japan's going to sell off. Yeah. Additional to their rate.
Additional. Okay. So you've seen a sell-off in the market. Is Bitcoin going to hit the 75K? Guys, it's on the table. I'm going to show you the big chart as to why I think this could actually happen this week. So we got tons happening here. Let's go. Banter bubbles, absolute filth. We got a nice bounce yesterday. We called that bounce on the Sunday banger in the chart hackers Zoom yesterday. Myself and DJ and Dave got a nice bounce, short-term moves, and then a big rollover on the market. And now we are playing catch-up. We're looking for our next potential bounce zones in the market. So let's go hunting. Let's take a look. BTC, are we almost there? Now, this is an important level for us, 86K. Why is this important? Number one, it is our local 786. That's a 786 from the lows on the 1st of December. And then we've got a macro 618 if we pull it from the 21st of November. So this is a very important zone for us for Bitcoin, 86K. This is going to be a big one. And how do we try and time these reversals? Well, what we want to do is we want to be watching our oscillator nice and close. And you can see this 2 hour is imminently going to print bullish divergence on the next bounce. And you can see this 1 hour is starting to get a little bit closer to some kind of reversal here. Look at that. We're going to print some divergence on this 1 hour as well. So things are looking okay for 86K so far. After this current sell-off. Now, Carlos says, guys, be careful. What's going to 69K here? Well, what does he say? Be careful, we can escape only up. Ooh, 69 is deep and dark. I mean, let's go level by level. I can't argue against it, though. If it's a level, you see it, it's on the table. 86 here for me at the moment. What happens if we have a capitulation event? What happens if we start selling off pretty hard again, BTC? Your next level, guys, 84K. One of these here should give us a bounce within the next, say, 4 to 6 hours. If we do start dropping in those zones, that is where I'm expecting some kind of action on BTC, barring other crazy headlines. I think a lot of the selling has now been done with this US Open, and now we got to see the consolidation. If there's any more drama during the course of the day, obviously things can get a little bit messy. Again, Santa Claus is wearing red, no wonder. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense as well. Now, guys, in terms of upside zones, do we even bother looking at that just yet? So right now you can see upside danger zones for me, 89K, 89,650, and 90,500. I wouldn't look much past that at the moment. Anything or any moves that do push up, we're just looking at a bearish retest and some possible downside after that. Okay, now in terms of what we've seen today with some of these alts rejected, and we're going to go through a lot of altcoins for you guys. Sol and ETH, obviously top of the menu. We got Hyperliquid Pump, Brett. I've got even Peppy for you guys. But what we have seen is we got a small little bounce out of the markets. A lot of them tapped the original bear zone, which is the 382 VWAP combo, and then they rolled over obviously pretty hard. So remember, these are always great zones to catch some head shorts, and these are great TP zones after you get little bounces in the market. I'm going to show you some of these charts again, how they did roll over in those areas. Okay, so overall, that is our level. Those are our levels for BTC that I am looking for a bounce, and I am running a poll. I'm quite keen to see what you guys say. What comes next? Or what comes first for BTC, 75K, 95K, or James? At the moment, we got 29% are calling 95. So the majority actually feeling quite bearish at the moment with all these red candles. Yeah, guys, I think it's on the table. We've got a hell of a week ahead of us. Now, let's get into some of the events, because it's not only this Bank of Japan situation that we need to deal with at the moment. Obviously, $470 million in liquidation, always a good start as well. I can see James a little bit more interested now at 460 million. But remember, when somebody tries to hurt you, but you're a crypto guy, I mean, we just carry on. I don't feel pain. I'm numb. I'm absolutely desensitized to the pain, as is James. I can tell you without even telling.
Who cares? It's nonstop dumping. What's one day to the next? No big deal.
He is desensitized. He's got a leather heart. The man has got a heart made of leather. Now, let's talk about this. Is a Santa rally on the way? A long and the short of this story is, over the last 8 years, the index has declined during the Santa Claus window only once. Okay, this is the S&P that we are talking about. So a very strong probability we do get some kind of Santa rally for the last few days of the month. And the typical average return is about 1.3% to the upside during the Santa rally. James, Merry Christmas. Santa rally coming around the corner. And according to Meme Master, he says, here's the Santa rally. Look at this. There's our Santa rally going straight back to zero. So I suppose you can define it however you want. Meme Master thinks that is the look of the Santa rally at the moment. I don't like this 88-100. I think we got to go a little bit lower though. I think you need a deeper chart than what we got here. Now, obviously we got a massive week ahead. Ruth says can't go wrong by voting James. It's a sure thing, guys. Okay, so happy here are the top 5 things you need to know this week, according to Jesse Cohen. Number 1, jobs report. Obviously, that is a market mover. If this isn't looking good for the Fed, that could be the beginning of a catalyst that starts dropping us to the 75K level. What else? CPI. Anybody heard of that? Is that a market mover? I would say that is quite a big one. Okay, so if CPI doesn't come out nicely, we could be on our way to 75K with that. So we got 2 catalysts over here. And then we've got retail sales and PMI, slightly less of a market mover, especially on the crypto side. But here's the kicker. Okay, here's the big dog. Bank of Japan set to hike rates next week for the first time in 11 months. Okay, we spoke about this one last week, and 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 sums it up quite nicely. The last 3 times Japan hiked rates, Bitcoin jumped 20 to 30%. Okay, the Bank of Japan is expected to do a rate hike again on the 19th. Will this time be different? Okay, so what do we have here in front of us at the moment? We've got 3 catalysts. We got the CPI, which is obviously pretty rough. We've got unemployment, and we've got the Bank of Japan situation in front of us at the moment. Now, obviously, this time could be different. And what I want to say is this Japanese thing, I'm keen to hear what James has to say, has to be priced in. Surely by now, if they look at this and say every time the BOJ raised rates, it dumped 20 to 30%, surely it is not priced in.
It's being priced in as we speak. It's obviously not done yet, but yeah, that's why we're dumping like this. And I mean, the whole ETF thing, I don't know how much more that's moved to it. Now, I have seen a lot of chatter today all about 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. I don't know if you got that tweet there too, but 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 is dumping massive amounts of Bitcoin and ETH right now. And everybody's screaming about that. Whoever's sending it there, they're just the ones selling it, right? But yeah, the de-risk is happening as we speak. It's a matter of when does it finish.
Massive week ahead, and I think it's fair to de-risk. And for me, in my view, is the bigger the de-risk into the event, by the time the event happens, I think we get a really nice bounce. So we got a lot to do. It's a minefield this week. We're talking each day has got something going on for us. You can track this stuff on Forex Factory. So here's our CPI, which is only on Thursday. Then we got Bank of Japan on Friday. We got unemployment on Tuesday. So there's going to be a lot of time to digest all of this stuff. And this is CPI on Forex Factory. You can obviously track it there. And you can also, if you want to, take a position on where we're going to finish. CPI, we can talk about Bank of Japan situation as well. I'm doing this on Kalshi Markets at the moment. Yeah, James, look, CPI November 25. We can take a position here. Look at this. We got a 0.2% forecast for the month on month. Oh, it's just, 0.2% forecast. We can go above 0.2. We get quite a strong payout here. Look at this. If we go above 0.2, let's see how much we can make on this thing. Hold on. Let's see what they can give us here. Yes, 40. Let's see. If we put in $50 here, we get a $20 payout. Oh. What do you think? Yeah, I'm going. How about
0.2? You're not going for above 0.3, huh?
Well, we can do that too. It's even a better rate. Look at that, 879. I mean, that's even worth a small position there. I'm going to take a small.
If that's the case, though, and that's the number we get, that's not going to be pretty. So yeah, well, I'm making money here because the charts.
I'm bullish on this. Okay, so yeah, guys, if it all goes to shit, here's a good hedge. Okay, so like this is a hedge for an absolute disaster over there. So I'm betting on 0.2 and 0.3 going a little bit higher. Obviously, you could look at tons of other things here. You can even bet on the Japanese, the Bank of Japan rates that they are going to be coming out. So playing a lot of that on Kalshi at the moment. And I'm seeing we got a little bounce at the moment on the S&P. Look at this. There's a short-term bullish short-term bullish momentum, James. Maybe that is the end for the next hour or so. Now, in S&P 6757 is our big support that we are watching. What I don't love at the moment on the daily chart, this is a little bit bearish. Look at that. We got a blue reversal dot as well, bearish divergence. So overall, it's not looking incredible to me. But if we do get a drop 6757, that is a long zone on the S&P. Now let's talk Netflix. This thing is still a little bit green for me at the moment, and bar chart says Netflix has now closed below its 200-day moving average for 17 trading days, the longest period of time in more than 3 years. So at some point we do get a DCB. They are going to send this one back. So I am holding on to Netflix for now. You can see 93 is my big zone. This is our support level we're playing on. If this level drops, guys, for me, it's 83, 84 is going to be the next bounce zone on Netflix. You can see our oscillator looks completely opposite to the S&P at the moment. This thing is bottoming out quite hard. And maybe when this Warner Brothers situation gets resolved and whatever, then we'll see an uptick again on Netflix. So I am holding strong on this one. MicroStrategy absolutely shitting the bed at the moment. Still looking for 152 to hold. This is obviously a must-hold zone for me. Want to see this one churn higher. Now we need a strong crypto market to help us along the way. So waiting patiently at the moment, 152. And gold has done it again. Every time I wait for the sweep of these highs on gold, guys, they keep front running me. James, I don't know, 4,360, 4,400. I still think we're going to get a short there on gold. It's going to trap so many longs for that breakout, and we're going to get that reversal. So right now on the 4 hour, I do want to see something like that, and this will obviously include a pop back to the upside on gold. So I'm waiting patiently, 4,360, 4,400, possible shortcoming on gold for you guys. Just be patient. You can trade that with me, obviously, on BTCC. Now, let's talk about 75K. Why do I think 75K is on the table? Well, obviously, the catalyst that I've given you already. And what is the chart showing us? Well, if you watch the show regularly, you will know that I pull this chart out pretty much every single day, just as a guide for us on the higher time frame as to what is going on. So right now, you can see Bitcoin on the 3-day, I've got a clear danger zones ahead. Okay, you can see all these zones here. They are typical macro fibs with confluence. So 91,600. Yeah, we've got 98K, we've got 103, and we've got 108. These are all your typical high confluence danger zones, which should all offer some type of fight, the same way you're seeing now in this current area. Now, the interesting thing for me is the 3-day oscillator that I love to track is looking like it's rolling over. And if this rolls over, you might get yourself a situation where this 3-day oscillator prints a higher low like that. And what happens if you print a higher low and you want bullish divergence? You tend to get a lower low on price. And I'm looking for this dip into 76, 77K, even as low as 75K. That should print a bullish divergence for us on the 3-day. And that will hopefully give us some sustained move to the upside. So what this looks like here is potential pain, potential pricing in a lot of drama this week. And obviously we'll go day by day. We'll see, and it will go step by step as this happens. But if we get a pricing in event here and Bitcoin rolls over 75, 76K, we're going to print bullish divergence, and that is going to be quite a nice long zone. I'll obviously take it live with you guys if I'm able to, and we'll obviously track this thing every single day. Obviously, Chart Hackers members, we deal with this all day long. And remember, all these charts go into the Chart Hackers Discord directly after the show for you guys. Okay, so that is that. Then let's talk about these alts. Let's get into the juice. So obviously USDT dominance is a big one for us. This tells us the story in the whole market, and you can see we are chopping around in quite a tight range. Nothing really to report at the moment. If the market capitulates 6.6, you are looking for the bounce in the market. If the market does pump really hard, 5.7, you are looking for the rejection in the market. So play in these two zones. Not much to really talk about in terms of that. Then Bitcoin dominance as well, moving down into support again. And what do we see here? If we drop into the zone where Bitcoin outperforms, let's hope that that is Bitcoin bouncing and pumping to the upside. Then we will be happy because everything organically just moves up with it. Okay, so we're looking for the bounce here with BTC. If Bitcoin is dropping and you get a strong bounce in this dominance to the upside, obviously these alts are going to get rinsed. Okay, we're going to feel a little bit of pain there. So make sure you are protecting yourself as much as possible. Okay, let's get into the stuff. Let's see what's going on here. Am I getting absolutely shit-faced rinse at the moment? So XRP short is good. I love that thing. I've just done an XRP long. I'm going to show you why I've scalped an XRP long. I'm going to show you why I've jumped into a hype long here as well. Solana, Zcash, complete outperformer today. It was an amazing short last week, but we dropped into quite an interesting zone last night, and I was expecting some kind of recovery on Zcash, and obviously we know Zcash seems to outperform when the market is shitting the bed. So Zcash doing quite nicely. ETH, I'm getting a little bit rinsed at the moment on this thing, and I'm going to plan my way out of this with you guys. I'm going to show you exactly how I'm going to do this and what I'm looking at here at the moment. But James, this XRP short, it's a wonderful thing. It really is a pleasing exercise for me at the moment, and I believe there's going to be another opportunity to add to that XRP short. Okay, so let's talk ETH, and the big one for me is when the market starts falling over, I immediately want to go to more macro levels. So I've zoomed out of my ETH chart and I've pulled out our 618 from the lows Friday the 21st, and I've made it very similar to that one BTC chart that I spoke about earlier, and just trying to track these two levels. And you can see ETH is actually lagging the 618 quite a bit, and this will fill that wick pretty nicely for us. So in a perfect world at the moment for ETH, we probably see something along these lines, bang, okay? And that will obviously come with a bit more pain in the market, and this could obviously play out during the course of today, tomorrow, over the next couple of days with all the news that is around the corner. So right now, first key support level is the bigger or the slightly more macro 618 fib, 2,930 into 2,900. So anywhere in that box for me makes a ton of sense for ETH at the moment. And let's see, we might get this recovery bounce. I'm concerned at the upside with our 50-week moving average, possible resistance, possible rejection zone there for us. So we do need to be careful. But in terms of nice support, 2,900 making a lot of sense to me at the moment for ETH. Where is my backup zone? What if the market capitulates? Well, we go back to the Bitcoin chart. We make sure Bitcoin is hitting support. It is hitting a nice level. If it's hitting one of those two levels, you marry these two up and you make sure that your alts are on nice support, and then you go and try those long bounces. Okay, so 2,930 to 2,900, and then I've got 2,800 into about 2,750 for ETH is zone number 2. Now, I'll make sure these charts are in the 𝗏𝗏𝗃's Discord for you guys, and you can play with them at your leisure. Okay, so something along those lines, barring a short-term little push to the upside. Let's talk SOL as well, and I just want to show you guys, in fact, it was very similar with ETH as well. We marked out these levels earlier today for the 𝗏𝗏𝗃's Discord, and you can see I created bear zones here. What is a bear zone? It's a 382 VWAP and a 0.5 at resistance. Okay, look how ETH rejected in that local bear zone over there. Okay, so it hit our VWAP. It actually front ran that 382 earlier. That 382 was a little bit higher, but it front ran that zone, bang into that VWAP. Same story for SOL. Look at SOL, pumps into the local bear zone. Where's the bear zone? From the highs, you pull the fibs all the way down to your lows. Look at that, hits the VWAP, the 382, the trend, the horizontal, and that is why I labeled it first major danger zone there for SOL. Okay, so we had a nice rejection there from that zone. Obviously, quite severe, okay? A little bit bigger than expected, not gonna lie. That thing was pretty brutal. But in terms of SOL, why have I tried a long? Well, we back in this zone that I highlighted the other day with a potential wick into this 125 region. And you can see they are trying to react it at the moment. Okay, so I've tried a little SOL position. Maybe we're going to get a little bounce here. If this area starts failing, we need to look at plan B. What is plan B? This region over here, anything from 124, and I believe it's down to about 120. We've got some good tie-in on the higher time frame. We just need to zoom out a touch here, but you'll see about 120 is going to be your next big major level there for SOL. Okay, so looking for a bounce here. I've tried the long. If this fails, you're looking at 124 into 121, somewhere in that zone. Makes sense. It makes sense. So SOL is salty. Okay, yeah. I mean, it was quite a brutal sell-off. I mean, that was pretty rough. Okay, so on terms of the 2 hour, what we're going to get. So you're probably going to get a divergence print of sorts. Okay, now obviously it did roll over pretty early today, but if we do get that bounce on SOL, you're going to see we start printing this type of thing on the oscillator, and that can obviously help us with a little bit of momentum. Okay, now Mickey D says AVAX little bounce from when entry. We're going to look at that now because I did try I did try some AVAX. Where's this thing? Oh, did I get stopped? Don't tell me I got stopped out of AVAX. No. Okay, I'm going to be salty. We're going to look at it now. I did try AVAX earlier. Okay, let's talk ZEC. This thing has been outperforming today with the market collapsing. A whale deposited 2.4 million USDC onto Hyperliquid, opened a ZEC short on 3x leverage. Okay, so he's $6 million short at the moment on ZEC. His entry is 410. I tend to agree. I think this thing is going to go down. I mean, just right now, it's obviously outperforming in the current market conditions. But in terms of the guy's entry, where's he going? Look, he kind of shorted the bottom, okay? Kind of shorted the bottom today. We were looking for a bounce here yesterday. So he's kind of shorted where we looked for the bounce. But I don't think that is the bottom of Zcash. I think Zcash can drop quite a bit lower. And I was saying to the chart hacker Zoom last night, something like this still makes sense to me at the moment. Naturally, we got to watch what the market does. But in terms of these reversals, look at that. We've got multiple divergence prints. This 2 hour is starting to look a little bit aggressive here at the moment, and maybe some strength. But I would say this is merely an opportunity to add or to create fresh shorts. So what you're going to do is you're going to look at levels 424, 434, and 451. I'd have to say, if I had to pick a higher conviction for a fresh short, it's got to be up there somewhere. So somewhere in 450 into 460 for now, looking like the dream scenario at the moment because of that undercarriage. And I'm trying to guess, obviously, where this oscillator might get exhausted. Remember, if we pump into a bear zone and our oscillator on, say, the 2 hour is only halfway up, it becomes like a 50-50 play as to what happens next. So obviously, you want to see these things overcooked to the upside when they're hitting the bear zone for extra confidence for those shorts. Okay, so just remember that. And, ideally, you want to catch those shorts and those longs when these oscillators are overextended to the upside and the downside. So looking for those levels there, danger zones, 424, 434, and 455 makes sense to me for Zcash. I am riding that long at the moment, and that was obviously something that made sense to me, a little bouncy there yesterday based on those oscillators off that 390 zone. Was just looking pretty interesting to me in terms of that on the weekend. Okay, let's go. Okay, there's a lot of talk about this Hyperliquid and this lighter situation. They are both DEXs at the moment, and I wouldn't say it's wars at the moment, but there's definitely bullish arguments for both of them. So if you want to read what 𝗏𝗆 has to say about this stuff, he's looking at the two options here with lighter and Hyperliquid. But at the end of the day, like, Hyperliquid is well established and they're still making tons of cash. And you can see, but until Hyperliquid loses open interest to another perp DEX, it is ultimately still the leader. Hyperliquid still has more open interest than 9 perp DEXs below it in the top 10. Okay, now obviously this is subject to change, but Hyperliquid is still cooking and they're making tons of money. And that is why I keep looking for longs whenever I see hype. So in terms of that setup that I gave you guys on Friday, we have now dropped into that 786 zone. I was looking for the right shoulder of this inverse head and shoulders. This might be the move now. You can see we've got a nice little green candle at the moment. A little reaction for now. Doesn't guarantee anything other than I've locked in an entry here on hype. Potentially we are going to see a little bit higher. So let's see. Look how overcooked that 1 hour is at the moment. This thing looks heavily oversold here, and I am looking for a snapback bounce, maybe a few more percent, and then we kind of we consolidate and we see where we are, and then we make a call as to how we play this thing. Okay, 𝗏𝗏𝗏, no hype. No hype on 𝗏𝗏𝗏. That thing was an absolute fail so far. I do have that chart. We are going to talk about that one today. So guys, in terms of hype, if you took the long, I'm in the long. Your stop loss options are candle close under 27.23. That's the safest way to protect yourself. Alternatively, candle close under 26.66. Okay, keep it simple. You can see we got very tight consolidation here. At some point it breaks up or it breaks down. Right now, possible 10% move to the upside. And if we start losing this type of level here, it could get really, really ugly. Okay, so just look out for that, obviously, to the downside on hype. Don't really want to see sub 26.6. That could get pretty rough. Can we go down even? Can we go even down from 10-10 dump on some else? Yes, I believe we can. Some of them have already gone lower than the 10-10 dump. Okay, and no hype says, someone say my name. Hype, yes. How are you, sir? Okay, I'm very bullish on hype. Okay, so there we go. Those are your levels. Just play safe. You can see we're looking for some kind of reversal on hype. So far, a reaction on that right shoulder. We did wait quite a long time for this thing to come and play out. Now, who wants some SPX? We will be range bound until next year, first week possible for sure. And guys, reminder again, look for those shorts at resistance, play the bear zones and play the bull zones to the downside. Now, SPX, we got 0.5 looking interesting to me as your next potential bounce zone. So with the extent of our moves yesterday, we had tiny little moves. Look at that. And this wasn't even worth writing home about. I think Sol even performed better than that. A 5.6% pump on SPX yesterday, and then a rollover. Now, in terms of fresh levels for me, and this will probably come with Bitcoin dropping into 86, maybe a touch lower, but in terms of SPX, 0.5 makes sense to me for the next bounce. Okay, so 0.5, look for a bounce there. Until then, just be patient. Look, I've got a really nice level over here, and just let this thing drop into that zone. That could be fun. 0.5 on SPX. Now, Brett's an interesting one. I've actually set a limit order on WEX. I'm waiting for this one to come into my zone at the moment. You can see Brett on the 2 hour in terms of the oscillator getting super tired now. You're going to see we're probably going to print bullish divergence at some point as well. And I dropped this in the Chart Hackers Discord this morning with a lot of the setups. And I said, this is a potential level. If we drop lower, we could see bullish divergence printing on the 2 hour for Brett. And I think the other one might have been Peppy as well that we are covering. So Brett, 1475 into 143 looks like a feasible zone here where we can get some kind of bounce out of this thing. So what I've done here on WEX is I've set a couple of orders here on Brett. You can see there 1485. I'm waiting for this thing to drop into the zone here and pick these orders up, and then maybe a little bit more upside, maybe a little bounce there on Brett. Okay, so play it safe. I'm not going massive size. If you do drop into that zone, your exit options or your stop options or your safest one is going to be 1388. Alternatively, you can look at a close below 1449. Okay, 1449. Look for a close below that, or alternatively that big level over there. Okay, so looking for that drop into that zone and then a short little bounce on this guy. And remember, this looks pretty bearish now on Brett. We've lost our rising trend. So what happens typically is we might see a push to the upside and then maybe another drop to the downside. I see Mia's trading some ADA. Again, loving that token, Mia. That's her new favorite thing. I remember she was doing Bonk a hell of a lot as well. And then she moved on to Core. So now it's all about ADA. James, do we need to have an intervention here with Mia talking about ADA like this? We got to shift her onto XRP. Okay, let's go Peppy. This is dropping into quite a big level, guys. So strong bounce yesterday. We looked for a bounce in the Sunday banger. We got quite a nice move. We got about a 6% pump out of Peppy, then the full rollover. And in terms of the next zone for me, it's got to be this 3994 zone into about 396 for Peppy. Possible long coming here, guys. This might be today's when entry. Actually, we might be looking at this one for a possible move here, because I can see some potential divergence as well on this 2 hour. Look at that, starting to look good for me. We just want to get this final drop into the zone. Okay, so Peppy, that is around the corner. Then let's talk about my orders here. I've got orders for Pump and Peppy sitting on Blowfin. Here's Pump. You can see in front of you 247 and 244. I've put 2 orders in here at the moment. I'm waiting for this to come to me on Blowfin, and you can see all of these tokens are looking the same. They're dropping into quite big levels. Now, what we want to do with all of these altcoins, obviously, always keep your eye on Bitcoin. If Bitcoin hits that 86K, then you're going to probably see these alts drop onto these support levels. If they're marrying one another, and you can see those 1 hours are starting to potentially move back to the upside, that is your cue to start pressing and trying to get that bounce out of these tokens. That is going to be your long queue. Okay, so obviously just protect yourselves. You can get a capitulation event, and if you do get that, like, they're going to just drop this whole thing like 10-10, and this thing can obviously just wipe everyone out. So be super careful, be selective with which else you want to trade. Maybe pick a handful only and just be present while this thing consolidates in that area. So what you want to do is be able to watch the consolidation here, and then you'll see if it starts pumping, then you start adding while it starts pushing back up into that region. So you're going to buy a little bit there, you're going to buy a little bit there, and then you're going to add when there is a little bit of momentum. Obviously, know when to cut. Don't get married to these things. If you start losing big levels, then you start needing to jump out of some of these positions, start de-risking yourself a little bit. I think we're going down to the zone now, Mr. Bello. Yeah, I mean, get ready to long, guys. Like, it's coming. we're going to look for this little sweep into the 786. And I think 86K probably worth a look here. I think this is gonna be the one here for us now. So guys, that's what I've got going on there with 𝗶𝗆𝗏. Okay, so looking for these orders to pick up, and I'm obviously my thought process is Bitcoin's going to hold this 86, or if Bitcoin drops lower, we're going to get this dominance playing for us nicely and just holding these alts at these levels. Okay, so just tie these things up nicely here. Then let's talk to 𝗬𝗬𝗧, and yes, moving into the same as Brett. I dropped this one in Chart Hackers this morning, and this is your possible bullish divergence bounce zone on 𝗏. If this one is going to fail, you need to look at your next big level. Now, where's your next big level? So right now you can see you're at 267. Then your next big zone is going to be the move into 255. Now, in terms of the oscillator, this thing's looking cooked at the moment. That should print some kind of divergence for us. And I would say 267 should give you some kind of reaction here. We've waited for this thing the whole day. I mean, I mapped this thing out when 𝗏 was actually sitting up here earlier today. So it's been a whole day waiting for this to come into the box. Nibble around here. Okay, let it hit the zone 267. Nibble around in that area. If there's a ton of weakness, you're not putting yourself under too much pressure. And then your next big zone for me is going to be this 256 into about 254 for 𝗏. What you need to look out for is stop hunts. Look out for these dips and pumps out of these types of zones. Okay, look for these wicks and pumps here. They're going to try and take out a lot of stop losses here for you guys. Let's talk XRP. And I mean, the short is nice, but it's time to bounce. Surely, James. Surely even XRP can bounce a little bit here for us. 1.92 on XRP. That is a region. Anything down to this guy over here is a potential bounce zone. So 192 into 188. Look at this oscillator on the 2 hour. This thing is like, I mean, when last did we see this? Here. 1st of December, we saw it this overcooked, and we had a fairly good bounce out of XRP. And then previous occasions, we actually haven't gone to this level since the 3rd of November in terms of being this oversold on XRP. So things are looking pretty close to some kind of reversal. I would say watch this area, 192 into 188. Let's see what you get here. Just sniff around in the zone, and possible bounce coming. If they do capitulate, this is probably going to be your next area, guys. Your next backup zone, 1848 into 1816 is going to be your next one. Okay, so right now I'm looking for this bounce here for XRP. This is the backup zone. I'll put these in the Chart Hackers Discord for you guys directly after the show. Let's see, FOG. This thing is finally moving into our zone, and we had a drop into this one yesterday and a little pumpy on this thing, and now we're having round number 2. So just be careful if you want to play this FOG. It's obviously a strong zone, but the market conditions aren't exactly helping at the moment. That's a 12% pump so far, but a full reversal on this thing. So if you're going to play FOG, play small, play safe. Okay, don't get too aggressive with this thing. And let's just take one more look at BTC here at the moment. Where's our BTC? There it is. Okay, guys, this is close. We're getting close to something. Okay, so what you want to look for, let me just show you guys if I'm not around when this thing drops now. What you want to look for here, guys. So zoom in. You're going to go down on like 15 minutes. Okay, you're going to go 1 hour, 15-minute time frames. You go down something low. Okay, and you're going to look for a sweep through this area, and you're going to look for a hard reaction. So you're going to see this horrible candle that goes deep red, and you start panicking, and then all of a sudden it pops back up. Okay, and it prints like a pin bar almost, and then it starts consolidating and then pushes up. So you're going to look for that type of move. Obviously, it's a risky play because this thing can obviously drop lower down, but I would say look for the long, look for that reaction. When you see that big buy up in that area, that is when you can start buying some of that long. So just look for that forced push back up, and then you can see a little bit of strength there. And if it's in a good zone, that can obviously give you a nice long to play with. Okay, so just be safe out there, guys. You know the drill. 75 on the table, 95 on the table. We've got 3 catalysts this week. Let's see what they're going to give us. We'll go day by day. Come every single day. Watch the show every single day this week. Okay, this is the biggest week in crypto since last week, guys. Okay, don't forget that. And James, anything you'd like to share?
Good luck, everyone.
Oh, it's fun though. It's
that
fun.
Good luck just keeps getting worse every week.
Yeah, you're sounding sad, but it's going to be okay because we're going to bounce you. Okay. See you guys.